Good afternoon.
Who out there is a Scouser? Any Scousers here? Scousers, raise your hand.
Get them hands up. Come on.
Thank you, lad.
Good afternoon, Liverpool Horicon. My name is Ben. I'm Simon, and we're from the SuperNerds UK podcast. And we're here this afternoon being Jason Voorhees with CJ Graham and Ari Lehman. How's it going, guys? You okay?
Good. It's like double vision Jasons, stereo Jasons.
I don't think I've ever felt this safe sat next to a couple of serial killers before.
You haven't made it through it yet.
It's very true. So, let's just dive straight in, literally into the water. How did you become Jason Voorhees? And I'll ask Ari, if that's okay?
Well, it's certainly okay. Well, I was born to Pamela Voorhees. That's why I'm Jason Voorhees. No, in actuality, the wild thing is, Betsy Palmer, actually, who played my mother in Friday the 13th, shares the birth date of my actual mother, November 1st, the day after Halloween. Isn't that kind of creepy? And we discovered that. But that doesn't answer your question.
No.
To answer your question, when I was 13, I was in a comedy about kids who play soccer in America. And soccer is not popular in America. So that movie didn't go anywhere. And even though it was a lot of fun to play that role, and I snuck into the audition, I received a call from Sean Cunningham the following summer. I was just hanging out, just a kid. I've been in a movie, and all of a sudden the phone rings, and it's Sean, and he's like, Ari, we've got another job for you. And I'm like, really? He's like, come down to the studio. And I did, and I got there. What happened was, by accident, they handed me Kevin Bacon's script. And the script says, the counselor goes off to make out with his girlfriend in the woods. And I was like, oh, this is the best ever. Wow. And I was sitting there with this big grin on my face, and Sean comes in, he goes, no. That's Kevin's script. And I was like, really? And he goes, Ari, sit down. I said, okay. He goes, you're gonna be the monster. So I was, I thought the one thing would have been great, but being a monster, that was good enough. So I took it. And that's the rest is history.
There's worse things to be. So, being the iconic Jason in the first Friday the 13th, what was the makeup procedure like?
Well, what do you want to answer? Why don't we
actually, yes, sorry.
Yeah.
Instead of doing it one at a time.
Do you guys want to go on a date? So let me go back to the question. How did I get Jason?
Yes.
Is that the question?
Yes.
That's right? Okay.
Oh, I'm in trouble.
Any questions?
Not anymore.
I didn't think so.
No, but it is an interesting story how you became Jason, CJ.
It is to a point. I was managing a nightclub. We ran an event on Thursdays with a hypnotist. The hypnotist decided to have a film crew come in for a promo that he wanted to shoot. It just happened to be the folks that had did part 4 called Real Effects with Ted White. And they said, let's do a scene with Jason coming through the screen to the subjects. And they said, let's take CJ and put his big ass in that wardrobe. They did it, and as they say, the rest is history.
So being Jason, what was that like for you on set? Was it your first movie, your first acting experience?
Well, no. As I said previously, I had been in a movie just before that.
No, sorry.
That's how I got the role.
Sorry, CJ.
Oh, now he's asking you.
Oh, I'm on. Hey, I'm CJ, man.
I feel like I should start this.
Wait till the next show, okay? We'll do better. What was the question?
So had you been in another film prior to that?
So I had never been in a film. I had never done a stunt in my life. And even Kane Hodder, our friend, had found that I'd never done a stunt. And when he found out, it was like, well, what do you mean? They set you on fire. And I said, well, at the time I was a little younger, 28, 29, a little stupider, and didn't realize the impact of what I was doing. But I was relatively physically fit. I had a good stunt coordinator who put me through all the stunts, and that was one of the characteristics of playing Jason. I had to do all my own stunts, otherwise it didn't make sense to have a body double and then have to go back and forth between a stunt double and an actor. And I will tell you that playing Jason may sound easy because you don't speak, but I do challenge anybody to put a cardboard face on in one eye and show somebody you're pissed off. I mean, it's easy when you're normal like this. No problem. Tables can be flipped, it's all easy. But I challenge you to look at somebody and give them a look of standing fear where a person turns around and goes in the direction. It's a little more challenging than it sounds.
Well, you did it all with your body language.
All body language.
And there's a lot of levels too, because in part 6, you embraced a whole other personality aspect of Jason too. But you know what? The beginning where they have you down in the bottom of the lake, I mean, there we share some of that wonderful lake work, as we can say. But I didn't have to have a scuba tank. You know, you had a scuba diver with you, didn't you?
Yeah, what I did in part 6 at the end of the film, Jason's 20 feet underwater. It's an Olympic-sized diving pool in Los Angeles. They black out the walls and they actually chain me down to the bottom. So when you look at that, that is a real chain. And I had safety divers. I would
It's a metal chain?
A metal chain. It's a real chain. That's why it's holding me down. I'm standing on top of center block. Safety divers, I'd signal and they would swim in and pull my mask off and just stick a regulator in my mouth. So back to your thing about stunts, the association to be able to do those stunts was just as important as having the physical characteristics.
There's a lot of trust involved there.
A lot of trust with your stunt coordinator. For those of you that know, like Kane Hodder, been a stuntman, a stunt coordinator, you really have to believe in the people around you to keep your ass safe.
Are you in the full costume, full makeup and everything?
Yes. So everything underwater is full wardrobe, no wetsuit, it's just wardrobe. The safety drivers are wearing a 1/4-inch safety diving suits to keep them warm. And, you know, 6, 7, 10 hours into the shoot, it gets cold down there, let me tell you.
10 hours?
And we were there all night long. All night long. And then we both experienced the lake itself, which was stagnant, meaning there was no filtration to it, and they did have water moccasins and leeches.
Ooh, those are snakes, people.
So
water moccasins aren't slippers.
They'll knock you out.
Those are big black snakes.
So, but it was fun.
Is that probably the most challenging thing you've ever done then in your life, do you reckon?
Well, I was going to say I'm married, but no.
Oh, no. Your wife is a
Don't tell
sweetheart.
Ruby that.
Stop.
Ruby, are you here?
Come on.
But no, that's not the most challenging thing. I think, again, when you're young, it's fun, you're excited, the endorphins, it's like running.
Yeah.
You just want to do it, you want to keep going. So, you know, Jason is when you put on a character, when you put a hockey mask on, it's like a light switch. Once that hockey mask goes to the front of your face, you go in character, all you want to do is fuck people up.
So it was quite easy to stay in character then.
Easy.
So how did you guys become so close? Was it just through conventions?
We're buddies. What are you talking about? I mean, the first time CJ and I worked together was in like Arizona or something.
Yeah, but Mom always liked him more.
Well, that's true.
But we all tell Kane he's the best because otherwise I got to take him to therapy on Mondays. So
You know,
it's a
he
family
gets
affair.
weepy.
Yeah,
He
it's a
sobs.
family affair.
I don't want to see Jason sobbing. It's very embarrassing.
It'd be a fantastic reality show like House of Jason. It's just
I like that idea. I like that. All the Jasons live together in a house, you know. Hey, can I borrow your machete tonight? What?
This next top Jason would be fantastic.
That would work. I think that would be a great idea. The Jasons.
So let's talk makeup effects. Because obviously you both went through a lot of prosthetics.
Well, I got to work with Tom Savini at a very early age. I was only 14, and that was very inspiring because Tom is a Renaissance man, as you know, and has a great sense of humor. And even at that time, he kept a bust of Vincent Price, Bela Lugosi, Lon Chaney, and everybody, and Boris Karloff in his studio, even though it was his portable studio. I mean, he really gave me a respect for classic horror. We had to work together for 2 months to put the whole thing together, and it was just a lot of fun. And so when we did the actual makeup, it would take 3 to 4 hours. So we would, do that on the set. We'd have to be there early. And, for being a kid, there would have been a lot of cases where I could have lost, my focus, or, being that young. But they kept it fun and kept it real for me. So, especially when we did the final sequence. When I was handed the script for the final sequence, it said Alice's dream. And that sent me into a spasm of anger because I thought I got my revenge against Alice for killing my mother. But, so I started kind of being a bit sulky and, no, it's not a dream, it's real, it's real. And Savini took me aside and said, listen now, stop saying that because you're bothering Sean. But if you are a ghost in a dream, then you would believe that you were real, so just go with that. But in the end, I think that my interpretation is the one that the fans accepted, that a mother's love is so powerful that even though it's righteous vengeance gone horribly awry, it still is something that keeps us sympathetic towards Jason. Would you agree?
I'm not going to touch that one. His mom liked him better.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be honest. Mom liked him better.
Well, sure she did.
He was the baby of the family.
Well, Betsy Palmer, the great actress that played Voorhees, as we said, we were close and we were buddies and we would hang out. One of the reasons, though, is because she was a vegetarian, and I'm a vegetarian too. I know I don't necessarily look like a vegetarian, but I'm a vegetarian, and she was. And you all would go off for steaks and whatnot, and we would get some lasagna or Chinese food, What? It's all lasagna.
Pasta, steak, pasta.
Have you ever tried to chase down the wild tofu?
I ain't touching that stuff.
It's difficult to track tofu in the winter.
Cow. I'll eat the cow, man. Sorry. You veggies.
I know.
I mean, tofu's not that bad.
Oh,
I was a vegetarian for 16 years, man.
Very good.
It's not so missus is a vegan.
How old are you? Well, let's change the topic.
Late 20s.
I didn't mean to bring up that as a topic, but I loved Betsy Palmer and still love her forever.
It's a hell of a thing to pop
the
up.
makeup for you? How long did that take for you?
Mine was, at the beginning when we had the maggots on my face, it would take almost 3 hours to get it completed. Once we got the opening scene where the hockey mask is put back on Jason, it would take about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes, and then we were set to go on set. So it wasn't that bad. Once we got out of that first scene and the hockey mask was put back on Jason, it became pretty simple as far as I was concerned. And I'm sure people have seen pictures of me sitting in the back of trailers sleeping, and all you see is my face is all painted up. I'm laying there. But those are just the way it is. You're shooting all night long. You start to get a little goofy sometimes. You start to scare the cast members as they're going by in the woods. Or you disappear and they're calling you for a set call and you're too busy sleeping in your trailer because it's, 3 o'clock in the morning and it's cold. So, but again, endorphins, adrenaline gets going, and here we are 30 years later. All I can do is say thank you to you, the fans.
Does the legacy of Jason surprise either of you in how well he's endured and how popular he still is?
Well, we had no inkling of that, of course, for the first Friday the 13th. But it certainly is, I would have to say, the dedication of the fans that keeps bringing Jason back to life. When I was in high school and somebody came up to me and said, choo, 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 I knew something was up. And I think that we can even look now, because it kind of looked for a minute there like, oh, what happened? Other voices took center stage, whether it was Walking Dead or even Michael Myers or this It character, But the video game, is anybody out there playing the Friday the 13th video game? Anybody?
Raise your hands, be proud, be strong.
This video game is now the #1 video game in the world, and people are playing it obsessively 3 to 5 hours a day. They just meet in Camp Crystal Lake, and so Jason is back.
Puts them in the role, doesn't it? You know, trying to survive Jason or being Jason.
That's correct. You can play Jason, you can play counselors. The only thing I object to about the game is that it's possible to kill Jason.
He'll always come back.
Yes. You just reboot the game.
Have you got, with this being another horror convention, of course, a question I'd like to ask is, have you got any crazy fan stories, or is there any fan interactions that have surprised you, or think stories you've got that you can tell us? Nothing too.
Stories that we can tell you. Are you insinuating something?
Well, I mean, the stories you certainly can't tell.
I can tell you this personally, that I've seen Jason's this big, full wardrobe come up to my table. This, I'm not exaggerating. You ask them how old they are, and they don't break character. They won't say a word, they just stand there. And the parent will speak for them. They're 5 years old, and you kind of go, you've got to be kidding me. A 5-year-old, great wardrobe, great costume, and then there'll be somebody 65, 70 years old in front of you with the same wardrobe on, saying, I can't believe it, you were my first Jason, I love Jason. Iconically, 35 years later, and you just kind of look at this and go, this has become a worldwide brand that I had no idea, I didn't expect. And personally, I'm lucky. I'm right in the middle of the series. I mean, Derek Mears has done an amazing job. Ken, particularly Kane Hodder's performance, Ted White. And you think about it, I get to be in the middle where I come back like Frankenstein. I get to be in the middle that I get to have a utility belt like Batman. True. That's right. I get to come at the beginning and I got a James Bond opening. Pretty cool. I mean, you think about it like, wow. And I've got an iconic Alice Cooper doing the music for The Man Who Wears a Mask.
Absolutely.
So I get to be in the middle. I get to really be a pivot point of the series as it goes forward. So I'm really excited to see what next year brings when they resurrect and go ahead and shoot it again. And as you know, they were supposed to start shooting this year. Platinum Dunes, I believe, is the name of the company. Yeah. They shelved it, and I would assume they're going to put it on the shelf next year and reboot it, because it's been since 2009. Derek Mears played Jason since this, part of the series has come out. And with the success of the video game, I think it's time to get it back on the big screen. What do you think, guys?
Definitely. Now is definitely the time to bring it back, as you said. But would you want to see it as a 30 years later sequel, like Star Wars and Blade Runner, or would you want to see it completely fresh, start again?
Well, I think one of the things about Friday the 13th is it's not too deep, it's not a philosophical movie, it's not about even the chronology, if you will. It's about people having fun. You know, when they first made Friday the 13th, it was about, hey, let's make a fun horror movie that people can watch together and enjoy and kind of revisit. And I think that it's just, it's a scenario that can just be rebooted, if you will. It doesn't necessarily, it's just a fun romp through the woods with Jason and various farm implements. It's like, there's nothing, if you're running away from Jason Voorhees in fear of your life, it's not, you're not going to be like contemplating the mysteries of the universe at that moment.
That's deep, brother. Deep. Anyway, again, it's an outsider looking in, and it's easy to be an armchair quarterback. I saw that play. They should have went to the left, not the right. But I would love to see them resurrect the Jason series and take and shoot 2 or 3 movies in a row sequentially, so there's similarities to the script, and then can them and then put them out over the next 3 or 4 years so that we don't lose the vision. I mean, there are some Jasons that weren't as exceptional, the film itself, not the performer, and I think we'll all agree, we see all of our films, be it Predator versus Alien, Halloween, they get a little bit off track. I think you need to stay center field, mainstream. But if they could do 3 of them, maybe use the same director, maybe the same writer, shoot them all during 1 year, can them, and then put them out, the series would have some substance. rather than each individual director, writer coming up with the creativity, and then kind of loses focus. So again, the easy is an armchair quarterback, but we'll see what they do.
It's a great way to look at it, keep a sense of flavour, right?
Yeah.
Have you got, for both of you guys, have you got a favourite Jason film that isn't yours, and isn't each other?
Oh, part 6. What are you talking about?
Yeah, part 1. That was an easy
Excluding
question,
6
easy
and 1.
answer. My brother from the same mother.
Have you got a favourite movie?
Part 6.
A favorite horror movie, one that people should watch. I'm a big fan of a movie called Night of the Hunter, starring Robert Mitchum. This was Charles Lawton's only directorial success, and this is the departure, if you will, of American slasher films from like Hammer horror and what had come before it in terms of more gothic horror films. There's no castle on the hill in this, or group of peasants, attacking. In this one, you have an itinerant preacher going across the country, wooing various widows and slaying them. And Shelley Winters plays the widow that he slays. The image of where it says H-A-T-E-L-O-V-E tattooed on the fists that you see in Taxi Driver, that comes from Night of the Hunter. And if you watch Robert Mitchum, he talks about L-O-V-E and H-A-T-E, the struggle of good against evil. And you got to see the movie. There's a great use of music, and it's just a classic horror film. Night of the Hunter, check it out.
My personal, I've always been, we were talking earlier about Moore's Call of Lon Chaney. I'll always go back to the 60s, the black and whites with Werewolf, Frankenstein, Dracula, Mummy. I'll stay with those forever.
What about Maniac Cop?
I like that cop. There's another Maniac Cop called Hell Cop. I like
Hell
him too.
Cop! Hell Cop! That's what I was talking about. What about Hell Cop? Who's seen Hell
Maniac
Cop?
Cop too, though. But that's
Who's
what I
seen
think.
Hell Cop out there?
I like Hell Cop.
Hell Cop?
Let's talk about Hellcop.
Hell Cop? Because he played a policeman in Hell Cop that is like really awesome.
What's really funny is when I was telling people I was going to be interviewing yourselves, someone said, CJ Graham, I can't believe you're talking to Hellcop.
Yeah,
not even Jason. Hellcop was the first thing you went to.
Yeah, I think, the Hell Cop film that I did was done in about 2 years after the Jason. Unfortunately, the company bankruptcy had never made a national distribution of the films to theaters. It sat on the shelves for almost 25 years till United Artists, MGM bought it. But the interesting thing, guys know who Ben Stiller is? He's got about 5 seconds in it, and I kick his ass.
What?
True story. Mom and Dad are in it too. Just, anybody remember Lita Ford, the rock and roll singer of the 80s? She's in it. How about Christy Swanson, Buffy and the Vampire? She's in it. Chad Lowe, Rob Lowe's little brother, is in it. And you remember Patrick Bergin sleeping with the enemy opposite Julia Roberts, the husband, the psycho? He plays the devil. So it really did have a cast of characters, but when they bankruptcied after it got on in the can, it just sat on the shelves, like I said, until United Artists, MGM bought it, and just in the last year and a half, it went to Blu-ray. So it's kind of interesting, but a lot of people come up and they realize I was Hell Cop, and they go, "You've got to be kidding, man, I love that show." It's just one of those things, if you don't get that national distribution to a theater worldwide, it doesn't really get the recognition you hope it would.
But now fans, people who come to horror conventions will probably take the time to seek that out and find a juicy little fun horror movie.
And
What do you think?
I did. I had people today already come up with the Blu-ray to get autographed and take pictures of
There you
Hellcop.
go.
So
Fantastic.
There you go.
Would you reprise Hellcop if you were given the opportunity?
I'd look at it seriously. I'd look at the same thing with the Jason character. I would look at it if it was offered, but I would only take it if I could perform up to the standards of what it requires to keep the series going strongly. If I didn't think I could perform and deliver what's necessary, I'd pass. Just because I don't want to damage what we've already done. But I would look at it. I mean, I would think physically fit where I could probably do it, but at the same time, if I couldn't give a performance that met expectations, meaning yours, even more important, mine personal, I wouldn't do it, but I would seriously consider it.
Or it could be a modified version. It'd be like Hell Cop at the donut shop. He's old now, a little jaded and ornery.
It's the vegan food.
Tofu makes you crazy.
Tofu, that's it, tofu, right? There was something out there.
Alcop versus the vegetarians. I can see it.
Oh.
If you could play any other character, who would you do?
Either Vlad the Impaler or Svengali.
I think Vlad the Impaler would be pretty cool.
What about you?
I don't know if there'd be a character specifically. Again, you have to realize when you're big like me, for those of you that are my size, 6'3", 245, there's limited acting abilities because normal people are normal size, 5'11", 6 foot. My big ass stands up, nobody wants to stand next to me. But I always thought it would be fun to play Halloween, Michael Myers, play Predator, you see what I'm saying? And be able to play each one of the characters, Leatherface, and be the quote-unquote back to Lon Chaney, Boris Karloff of the series, because you can step into all those categories with my physical size and capabilities to do the stunts. That would be cool, and that's where I think you'd leave your mark on the history, just like Boris Karloff and Lon Chaney did.
Great answer. That's something we're missing these days. There is no iconic creature performers or monster performers.
None. There's not one that you can characteristically say has covered them all, or who they call when it comes to set prosthetics. You know, I mean, a lot of people have done a lot of good things. You may not know there's Derek Mears, The Hills Have Eyes. You've seen Predator out there and stuff. They've done a lot of things, but not one has really capitalized on every time there's a large character. I don't care if it's in Star Trek or whatever you call C.J. Graham, or you call Derek Mears specifically, because they know categorically they can do the stunts and they can put the prosthetics on and the wardrobe.
It's a fantastic answer.
Doug Jones does a good job with that. He's quite recognisable.
I think he just works with Guillermo del Toro all the time, doesn't he? Being different degrees of fishmen at the moment. So what have you guys been doing lately? Let's talk about that.
I now have a band called First Jason, in which I play a keytar that's on a giant machete.
It's cool. It's a badass. You should see it. I've seen it. He's brought it to photo. It's very cool.
Thank you, CJ. And our last video, we recently were signed to 2 different labels, Eternal Sound Records in Germany and Cats and Jammer Records in New Zealand. And our new album is called To Be a Monster. So check out the video, First Jason, To Be a Monster. It got over 15,000 views in about a week and a half. So it's really, we've kind of turned the corner, and there's a lot of great things. And the band now practices every week, which I'm proud to say, because I'm also the art director at a community center in Chicago, where I have an auditorium and a stage. So we just use the stage and we practice every week, and we've gotten great sound. So I'm very proud of the band right now. Please check us out. First Jason, that's the main thing that I do.
Fantastic. What type of music are you playing?
It's rock and roll, man. Rock and roll.
CJ.
I think most of you know that over the last 25 years I've been running casino resorts. Most of you know I've been a general manager, chief operating officer, so I've run operations worth $500 million, 2,500 employees. This year, in February, I retired. So I don't have anything I have to be anywhere. I'm just enjoying myself, doing whatever I need to do. I'm able to do conventions now, come meet the fans and show my appreciation for what I've done and then see you guys. But for 25 years, I ran casino resorts. I worked for Hard Rock, I worked for the Palm, Steve Wynn, I worked for Caesars. The last 8 years running casinos in California. So it's nice just to step back and take a deep breath and say I've done it. Hung up my suit and tie, so to speak. Actually, I've given them all away. I still have 3 hanging up, but I gave them all away, all my ties. So, yeah. But for those of you who've gone online, I'm sure you've seen me in a suit and tie running those joints. But now it's just time to enjoy myself. And we'll see what happens in my next phase of my life.
Well, I think that speaks volumes that he could be doing anything he wants, and he came out to see you people.
I think that deserves a round of applause. Did any of your employees know of your serial killer history?
Oh yeah. You'd be surprised. You know, I never got a complaint from an employee. I had a machete on the wall in my office, and there was it says, "Any complaints, take a number." It still was on number 1 after I left. Nobody ever complained, but I cannot tell you how many times we would do functions for the employees, the team members, or they had family members who were huge Jason fans, and you know, I had a drawer full of photographs I would sign for them and send them home with them. And we also did a few Halloween parties at the different casinos, which I was able to invite people in. Tom McLaughlin, who was the writer-director, also plays in a band, came in New Year's night one night and played at one of our resorts, Forest, the Sloss, with his band. So, but yeah, everybody knew it used to be not a funny joke, but even my chairman would introduce me as Jason, and I'm going to meet the Chamber of Commerce or a bunch of politicians and mayors, and our general manager is Jason, you know. And now I come up in a suit and tie and I start addressing all these folks, and they're thinking he was Jason. So go figure, right? Talk about being the opposite. I mean, happy smiley face one day, and the next day I would kill 18 people, and not a problem.
So what made you go back to like real life, like working in casinos? Why did you do that?
Well, for me, I mean, I'll give you mine, because I said earlier my size, my stature, I knew was always going to be against me. So I knew after I had done some commercials and a couple jobs that I was like, there's limitations with a guy 6'3", 245. And I said, well, let me go back to the casino industry, because I'd already been a dealer dealing craps 21 roulette, and build my career up, which I did. I went back to Las Vegas, and I stayed there for 20 years. And then the last 8 years of my career I was in California, Northern California and Southern California. So that was my opportunity. That I said, you know what, I'm going to be realistic about this. Take the money, thank you. And now I'm back. He's back, the man behind the mask. Huh?
Perfect.
Doesn't it work?
It does. He's back.
Ari, and yourself?
Oh, what was the question?
So what made you go from acting into another career?
I'm sorry, but there's a bunch of red balloons over there. I'm very frightened.
There's going to be a clown in the street, like, really disappointed, isn't there?
So you were saying what?
What made you go? Said the balloon. What made you give up like, acting and going toward music?
Oh, well, you know what? Even on the set of Friday the 13th, I had kind of already decided I wanted to be a piano player. I started playing jazz piano, and I found that I had a talent for that. And I just, love playing music. The feeling of standing in between a kick-ass band and a screaming crowd, you can't beat that, and it's mildly addictive. And so I keep wanting to do that. But when you're a young person on the set of a film, there's a lot of waiting around. And, it's like, you walk in the room, you turn on the light, you say, oh my goodness! And it cut, and now, okay, let's shoot that again. You walk in the room again, you turn on the light, oh my goodness, cut, shoot again, different angle, it just goes on all day. So for me, I'm a Taurus, I'm not that patient, I just want to get in there and do things. And I found that leading a band and being a songwriter and a singer has been the right choice for me. But I have recently done some acting. I was in a great little independent film called The Barn. I don't know if anybody's heard about The Barn out there, but I played Dr. Rock. In essence, I play myself. He's a video DJ from the 90s. So it's like, you're on the rock block with Dr. Rock. But definitely go check out The Barn, because it's a great horror film. And then I was recently cast in another film as a clown, as a murderous clown in a movie called Clown Motel. But so I have a lot of fun doing those independent films, and I basically just eat the scenery because, hey, it's an independent film.
When they do remake Friday the 13th, if they ask you to cameo, would you do that?
Oh, well, of course, I would be happy to be a part of that. The thing is, though, what I feel in that case is you want to maintain the fear concept. You want to maintain the scary line. And if someone says, oh, there's Ari, he's got a band, it's, oh, wait, Jason's,
I think that's what sort of feels like Halloween a little bit, to be honest. Too many cameos, too many modes.
I won't disagree with you, he said diplomatically. I will say that my buddy, Dago Fair, who played little Michael, did a pretty scary job, wouldn't you say? The young Michael, I think that scene was pretty chilling. So there's some moments in there that were,
I think, if it's okay, we're going to open it up to the audience for some questions and answers.
That's
That's
right.
okay with you guys? So who's got a question for Jason?
I was hoping you'd do that.
Right, I'm on it. Simon's coming to get you. Keep your hands up if that's okay. Hello. Hello.
With the talk of remakes and sequels, etc., apparently there's a court case going on over in the States where Victor Miller and Sean Cunningham are in back and forth as to who owns the actual rights to Jason Voorhees itself. Obviously, Sean Cunningham owns Friday the 13th, but Victor's saying he owns Jason Voorhees. Weigh in? Have you heard
I
anything
wish
on
they
that?
would just stop bickering, you know? I hate it when people fight with each other. I think Victor has good cause. Sean has good cause. But I think that it's time to bury the hatchet, just like Jason would, and hopefully not in somebody's head.
And I don't know anything about it. I run casinos.
That's
so.
better to not know anything about it because
7 out, line away.
it just cause you. But it's time for them to patch it up and move forward, in my opinion. Anybody else?
Hands up. I've got a really easy one for both of you. What's your favourite Jason kill?
Favorite Jason kill?
Yep.
Wow, that would be when CJ is in the Winnebago and the whole thing torches on fire, and that was my favorite.
My favorite is breaking the sheriff's back.
Yeah,
And the reason for that is it's not about the blood and guts, because we can do gore all day long with blood and guts. It's the power that it took to break somebody's spine in half.
Oh, mine's the
Good
sleeping bag one.
afternoon, Liverpool.
Definitely
Caroline
the
from
sleeping bag
Rosemary
against
Shoot is
it.
now commencing, followed by Damien Thomas, then CJ
While
Graham,
Simon goes to the next guy, I think it says-
3 p.m. 3:30, sorry.
I think
Thank
it says a
you.
lot about all of us that were sat here. He's going, my favourite was when I broke someone's back. It was awesome. Only a HorrorCon.
Hi guys, I was just wondering, did you ever get to keep any props from the time of the films at all?
Oh, I wish I had. From Friday the 13th, Tom Savini has all of those. What about you?
I still have a hockey mask. I had 2, and I sold 1. I still have the opening hockey mask from the James Bond scene.
Wow. That's pretty iconic.
Any more questions? Anyone else? At the back there.
Stand up. There you go.
Hello. In part 6, did you get to meet Alice Cooper at all?
Of course, I did a video with him, Goofy.
There's all these pictures of them together.
I got pictures with him, you know what? Hello.
What was he like?
Same as he is today. I meet him occasionally at shows. I met him about almost a year ago next month in Chicago. The guy is so down to earth. He's the same person he was then. He was my first concert I ever went to when I was 1972, and I was just like 16. So it was kind of iconic that he got to do the movie, but he is just as pleasant today as he was then. He's a very cool guy.
Any more questions? One down here.
Beautiful.
Hi there guys. I'm putting on a horror double bill next Friday 13th and I chose number 6. So I think it's the best one. But with you mentioning about the backbreaking scene, it's the centre's chopped that film a bit. How do you feel kind of about the portrayal of graphic violence now compared to actually 80s?
So I heard half the question.
Yeah, sorry man, if you hold the
I think
microphone.
microphone is dying. Go ahead, there you go.
The portrayal of graphic violence now compared to back in the 80s, because number 6 was chopped up to bits by the censors.
Oh,
Did that?
well, they're saying that, you see, when they brought Friday the 13th Part 6 over here, they didn't just up by the censors, so it's going to be...
So you got the chopped version. But you know what? To be fair, Part 6 had a lot of gore in it. In those days, they used to actually cut it on the floor and it went in the garbage. Today, they keep everything so they can come back and do what's called the director's cut. But I do know it was cut quite a bit even in America before it shipped overseas to Europe and stuff. So what they did cut out, it was significant. As in today, it would be totally acceptable. When I pull Horseshack's heart out, for instance, there actually is blood gushing out of the artery, and it just kept pumping. It was really cool. I mean, it was a good scene, good graphics. Tom Savini would have been proud. But at the same time, they took it out because it was too gory. It would have had to have an X rating at the time. Yet today, it would be acceptable. It's too bad.
Any more questions? Come on, there's got to be someone. A few more questions for Jason.
Is there anything you're scared of or scares you?
Say what? I didn't hear.
Is there anything that scares you or you're scared of?
Well, of course there is. Spoiled tofu, mainly very frightening.
I'm sticking with steak, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
No, I mean, in truth, wow. I live in Chicago, so not much scares me. But, I think that personally, my favorite horror movies are I love silent horror movies. I love movies that are about the occult and the afterlife. So that's kind of, I find that more frightening. Let's say, like The Exorcist, I find very frightening.
And I think, I like horror movies that have a sense of reality to them. Like a Jason. I mean, Jason could be a real person that's freaked out or Leatherface. You think about that?
That's scary.
Next time you answer your door and you think it's a pizza man, pizza girl. So I think anything that has reality attached to it that truly could be done by a sick individual, that's frightening. It's because it's reality, it's possible. I think, Freddy Krueger and those are good villains, but that's the dream. And we all know it's a dream, right? And anything is possible in a dream, so you can continue that genre forever. But something about a real human being that could really be a mass murderer, and there have been some out there. Let's take a look at it. So that's what scares me, is just the ones you really can't tell. It's like that young man next to you, Lewis. He looks so calm, but he's 10 years old. What's going to happen when he's 19?
To that effect, they got the H.H. Holmes movie, which they're going to be shooting now in Chicago, and about that wonderfully insane and terrible killer. So that might be a good one.
Yeah. Right, Lewis? Oh, man. Y'all have no idea what I'm talking. Lewis, stand up and take a bow.
No.
Lewis, stand up. Show them who you are, brother. No. Jason, 2028.
There he is. No emotion, he's just ready to kill.
All right, who's got another question? We got a few more minutes.
Anyone else?
What's your question? Spit it out. Yell.
Considering the remake, you're going to go come back to there, who do you think would make a good Jason next? One of the actors or someone else who isn't?
How about The Rock?
I think, who should do it? Is that what you said? So, Derek Mears did the last one, and I think it isn't public, but in my heart, I think Derek was probably going to do the next one.
Yeah.
But I think, they need to find the right character, going back to what I said earlier. I would love for them to pick one guy for the next 2 or 3 and shoot them all sequentially and make something that has some substance, so it's not just shelved each time with an individual. But I think Derek did a fine job. I think Kane Hodder would jump at it again in a heartbeat. I think Kane has put his blood, his life, for 25 years, has been out there every weekend doing these shows. So I think he's been a great ambassador to all the Jasons in the series, iconically. So I got to take my hat off to him if he was given the opportunity. And again, I would look at it, but if I couldn't deliver, I wouldn't step into the role because I'd let myself down, and that's not going to happen.
Obviously, there's a big gap between your films 1 and 6. What do you think about with part 1?
No, there's not a big gap. It's 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, gap
in
is
the
just...
whole, yeah. By the time part 6 came around, some bits of humour had started to creep into the series, such as the smiley face kill. What was your opinion on that? Did you think it added to the series?
Well, I think that Tommy McLaughlin took a unique approach, and I think that it was time for that. I think that the first movie, of course, plays upon the mystery of the killer. You see the kills, but not the killer. By the time we get to part 6, we do know who the killer is. So I do think that a bit of tongue-in-cheek humor, which had to be done well and was done well. You know, it could have gone horribly wrong, but Tommy and CJ and everybody who brought that in, I thought did a great job. So it was effective, I felt.
I think also, if you think about it, part 1, part 2, you know, they were still, the Jason character, the series itself wasn't sure what it was until part 3 when Richard put that hockey mask on.
Yeah.
So you have to look at it how it's developing, and then if you think about it, once part 6 came out, it became more still about the camp counselors, but it's kind of shifted now to the principal is Jason. If the hockey mask isn't in there, you don't have Friday the 13th. But if you think about part 6, there was no nudity. There was a little bit of humor. There was some great kills. And at the same time, it kind of was a different gender taking a look at it because it had some of the old 60s series, and then it was setting up for the next series to go forward. But again, if you think about it, part 1 and 2 was still in development of what the characters were going to become and what the audience was going to take away from it. And as you see, part 3, the audience had picked up on the hockey mask and Jason became the principal, and it just went forward since then, and here we are, in my case, 31 years later, and it's still a huge, iconic image.
Thank you very much. And that is all we've got time for this afternoon. So guys, give you a big round of applause for CJ and Ari. Thank you so much.